things better. And the title is quite interesting. Getting the love that you want in your marriage. Getting the love that you want in your marriage. And just to give you a sneak view into what we're going to be talking about tonight, if we are going to get the love we want in our marriages, then we need to go beyond the surface. We need to go beyond the distractions and the things we often pay our attention to, which ain't really the key issues we need to be addressing. So I think you've got another clue.
Yes. So, but before I go to the analogy, I just want to. There's a Bible scripture here, which is the baseline for today, and it's in Mark chapter 10, and I'll read it from verse 6 to 9. Like I said, because we are Christians, we base whatever we discuss on the Bible. And in Mark chapter 10, verse 6 to 9, it says, "But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man, let no situation, let no circumstance, let nothing separate." And that's what we are looking at today. And
just on that, I guess we believe in marriage being a lifelong commitment. Mm-hmm. So we're not coming at this because we expect separation or divorce in 2 years' time, 20 years' time, whenever. We believe marriage is meant to be for life, and we need to go into it with intelligence. We need to go into it with God leading us. And we also need to go into it as something we're going to be in permanently. We need to look at each other, growing up together, raising children into ripe old age, traveling the world, all of that. So that's the basis of where we're coming from. And I think you get that also from Psalm 127, verse 1, where he says, Psalm 127, verse 1, "Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it." So the bedrock, the foundation to everything we're doing today is twofold. One, it is the Lord who builds the house. And number two, it is meant to be permanent. That's where we're coming from. Everything we'll be discussing tonight leads to those two conclusions. With God's help, we can have successful marriages. We can have the love that we want in our marriages, and also our marriages can be permanent, can be a lifelong experience, not where we're feeling tired or chained down, but where we're actually getting the love that we want in our marriages.
Thank you. Okay. So just taking it on from there. So we did say today that we want to look at something very different. You know, usually when they talk about marriage, they talk about I guess there are things that easily come to mind when we mention marriage. But today what we are looking at is what I'll call liken to a tree analogy. So when you look at a tree, planted, let's say an orange tree, you see the branches, you see the leaves, you see the fruits, you see everything. But sometimes when things go wrong, you need to look beyond the surface. Yeah. You know, not just like that. Was it fig tree that Jesus caused? He said it was time for fig tree to produce fruit, but it wasn't producing fruit. So I'm just trying to liken a marriage to a tree, what you can see, and what sometimes that is meant to be there, but it's not. Mm-hmm. So today we are actually digging deep into what can usually not be seen, or where it all started from.
Yeah, so, and there's a few other analogies we can also think about. Think about the iceberg. You see that ice at the top, but the truth of the matter is you have something bigger under the sea, underneath, which you don't see. So when you look at the iceberg, you cannot judge the size of the iceberg by what you see on top of the sea. You need to look under and all that. And the other one which comes to my mind is, for me, I think our lives are like the stars in the sky. You know, when you look out on a good day, you could see a few stars. And on a cloudy day, very, very few. On a clear night, you could see more. But actually, when you then look through, what's that? Is it
binoculars? Is it
telescope?
Is it telescope?
Binoculars.
What is it, boys?
One of those things, telescope, binoculars, whatever. When you use one of those, you then see a lot more. And that's how our lives are. That, you know, there's so much we don't see with the physical eye, with the naked eye, that defines us. And those are the kind of things we're going to be looking at. Anyways, moving on. So you've seen the analogy of a tree, you've seen the analogy of an iceberg, you've seen the analogy of the stars, and we've established also that the Lord is the one who builds a house and he wants to build it permanently. Yeah. So that's the foundation for what we want to do tonight. But let's start with our first question tonight. And we love to ask questions. We love to ask questions at events like this. So from your experience or from what you have seen on TV,
or from what you have seen elsewhere,
or from what your mom told you, what makes for a happy marriage? Can you please put it in the chat? Either on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, or if you're on Zoom, please put it in the chat. What your mom told you, what you read in books, what you saw on TV, what your experiences have been, from what your friends have said, what actually makes for a successful marriage? What makes for a successful marriage? Please put it in the chat. Let's see what makes for a successful marriage. What do you think makes for a happy marriage, a happy home? Anybody who wants to go first? Anybody, please check Facebook to see if there's any comments there. What makes for a happy home? Trust. Okay. So trust, we have trust. Okay. Yeah. So we can see that. So yeah. Good communication, we both talk and all that, we relate and all that. Yeah, that's very, very important. Friendship, wow. Friendship, I think that's important actually. Being friends, yeah. Imagine marrying someone who is not your friend. How difficult that to be. And I think in the olden days, a lot of our parents did that. But I think in our day and age now, we settle more for people who are friends. Respecting one another. You know, not taking one another for granted. Commitment.
Forgiveness. Thank you.
Okay. Communication, loyalty, same moral or values. Yes, same values. Fun and forgiveness. That's true. Commitment to the journey. It's difficult when you're married to somebody who's also always looking out. And by looking out, I mean without looking at someone else, or by looking out, I mean they're not committed to the relationship. They're always saying, you know what, at some point, maybe we just do any little thing, you know what, maybe we should just call it quits and all of that. One of the biggest challenges a person can have is to marry a quitter. Somebody who never stays too long at anything. That can be a huge challenge for marriage. Okay, being reliable. Say what you mean what you say. If you're saying, I'm going to do this, do it. Have you seen people married to dreamers? You know, dreamers who tell you, I know dreamers are such good talkers. I'm going to buy you a jet. We will live next to the White House. And all of those things, and yet, guess what? They say it, but they don't fulfill it. Yes? Compromise.
As in, we need to compromise. So there are things that you may necessarily want, but you want to give your partner, you want to ensure that your partner is happy. Okay. So we keep compromising that. Okay.
Right. Compromise. Okay. Fantastic. So, okay. So, yes, love, money, good.
Did somebody say money?
I read that myself. I read that myself. I think money helps in my life. Okay, let's be truthful. Yeah. Hunger, frustration due to lack of money can cause tension in marriages and all that. So money makes the world go round. It's just good when you have enough. When you have enough of it in your marriage, Okay. So lots of good things we have said: shared morals, shared values, good communication, compromise, coming to the middle, and all of that. But what we've discovered 20 years in this relationship, and from what we've read and things like that, what we've discovered is it is possible to have almost all of these things, and yet people are still unhappy in their relationship. People are still unhappy, and all of that. Of course, we need God.
Thank you.
Of course, we need God in our relationship. So if people are still lonely and they are unhappy, they still feel, having had all of this, they're still not connecting. And really, if we can sum this up tonight, what we're looking at is connecting at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about what happens in the bedroom. So let's pack that aside for once. But really, really connecting with your spouse at a really, really deeper level. You could have all of these things, you could tick all of these boxes, and yet you're still feeling lonely, you're still feeling that like something is missing. Something is missing. And sometimes, I don't know if this has happened in your relationship, where you just have this underlying, it's like stress, this underlying tension. You can't place a finger on it, but it's there. It's there. You're almost like just a conversation away from an argument. It could just be something as little as, can you please switch on the TV? And that becomes an argument. It could be, what time are we going out tomorrow? That could become an argument. It could be, oh, when next are we going on a date? That becomes an argument. There's just this underlying tension in the relationship. You almost cannot have a conversation without that leading into something else and all that. And maybe we just need to scratch that a bit more, go slightly deeper into tensions in marriage. Do you want to look at that?
Yes, and I think, thank you all for your contribution. I think sometimes when you have all of that, some people, they still tell you, I'm still lonely. There's still something that is missing.
Yeah.
There's something that is missing there. My partner cannot just, even with all of this, my spouse is still not meeting. That need is still not being met. And of course, there are a few things that, apart from what we've mentioned, there are things that can cause tension in a marriage. Even if it's just probably chores, financial issues,
household chores, help me in the kitchen. I've been cooking all day, and you didn't come in to say how you doing.
Are you talking to me?
No, somebody.
Oh, sorry.
No, somebody. The last counseling session I had.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
As long as we are able to, we're able to.
There's always an excuse.
Because there are things that happens in a home that sometimes causes tension, and it's just because we have not paid attention to that particular thing that person is saying. You know what? Could you help with this? Could you help sort this? If only you can just listen. And sometimes it's, I was at a training on, I think it was during the week.
Yeah.
And the trainer was talking to us about things of course we already know. And she said, sometimes people listen, sometimes people just hear. If you hear, you can hear a lot of noise, but it takes particular effort to listen to someone. If there is something that is causing tension, have you taken time out to look at what is this tension? Where is this? What is just, in the, when you talked about the iceberg, what is beneath this symptom?
Yeah.
Usually if people have a headache and all of that, there is a symptom, there is a root cause. And that's what we are actually looking at today. So I know, yes, thank you. You've mentioned the communication, you've mentioned the compromise and all of that. But beyond that, we are going to go a bit deeper today, and we'll look at what are the underlying things, underlying reasons for conflict in marriages. And I think we will, like the Bible, where it started from Genesis, I think we will go back to Genesis and think, what are the things that probably we have not actually talked about that could be the symptoms of tension in the marriage?
And thanks for that. We could, and maybe in future, maybe we'll do that. We could pick money, for example, and talk about money in the home and how that becomes an issue, how that could be an issue or not. We could talk about children. We could talk about career. Career can be an issue for some marriages and for others not. We could talk about household chores, like we said. We could talk about how we're raising children, our in-laws and all that. We could talk about any topic. But tonight, we're looking at the unseen, the things under the water. The roots, the stars that are not visible to the eyes. Those are the kind of things we are looking at tonight. And like you said, it's just good again to start from the beginning, of time, the beginning of life. So let's scale this back then before we talk about relationships. So we're going to map out a journey now from the time life starts to the time when two people look at each other and they're like, you know what, we need to go our separate ways. Let's map out that journey.
I thought you were going to say before you say I do. I was shaking my head. I was actually shaking my head, not separating. Yes, but now I understand. It's so from cradle to grave.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I get it.
Maybe they said, darling, will you marry me?
I'm already married.
Okay.
But let's get on.
All right. Do you want me to kneel down?
No.
I could find it.
Not on this front. After this front.
Okay, yes. Great. Okay, so let's look at this from the point where we're born, in fact, before we're born, all the way to when two people look at each other and say, you know what? I'm done. Let's go our separate ways. And then we will then close it with a solution, how we can avoid that. That's what we're doing tonight. So let's start the journey. Everything else we've done is a preamble, it's introduction, it's laying the foundation. This is where we kick off. So where does life start? Life starts from the womb. Yeah, we all start a pregnancy. A woman gets pregnant and all that. Now the NHS wants to say a person gets pregnant and remove the word woman from their vocabulary.
Oh, we saw a man that got pregnant.
Which is okay. Let's not go into that. That man was a woman before and all that. Yeah. So let's not go into that. But a woman gets, and we're proud to say, a woman gets pregnant, and a baby grows in the womb. And the baby is in this sac in the womb. And all the needs of that baby are met. For a normal, healthy pregnancy, all the needs of that baby are met. That baby is happy. That baby lacks nothing. And the heartbeat of the mom provides a rhythm which the baby enjoys.
I should be talking about, because I actually I experienced that.
So you experienced carrying the baby. You did not experience how the baby felt. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, all right.
I'm not talking about you carrying the baby. Now we're looking at it from the baby side now, not the mother side, But for you, remember the turning and they rub my back and I rub this side and let's not go into that. That was ages ago. Ages ago. The boys are old now. Oh, Daddy, can I stay for rugby after school? His voice is broken. Awesome. Anyways, the baby lacks nothing in the womb. Paradise. That's where the cradle of life starts from. Paradise. Everything goes well for most people. Everything goes well on the inside. The baby draws nutrients, draws everything it needs from the mom. And then the baby is born. And of course, there may be a few hiccups along the way where maybe it was a cesarean birth, maybe it was a natural birth, maybe the birth was difficult, maybe the birth was easy. Either way, the baby gets born and the baby cries and the baby is fed and all that. But at that early stage of life, there is a deep bond between the child and whoever takes care of the child. Could be the mom, could be the father, could be grandma, grandmom, uncle, aunt, whoever, friend, anyone, but not friend, anyone who takes care of that child. That child develops a very, very strong bond with those caregivers at that early stage. And trust me, this is leading to marriage. So don't switch up yet. This is leading to marriage. That child develops such a unique and deep bond that for the rest of that child's life, that child, or even when they grow up and mature, they'll be looking for a recreation of that oneness which they first experienced in the womb, and then which they experienced with humans when they came into the earth. The baby cries, she's changed. The baby cries, the diaper is changed. The baby cries, she's fed. The baby is rubbed. The baby sleeps. The baby feels comforted. The baby feels warm with the mom when she's sucking the mom's breast. And all of that, again, second paradise that child has at that stage. But then we know that as life would have it, we're all imperfect human beings. The parent raising that child was raised by an imperfect parent. And very soon, the imperfections of the parents begin to seep into the development of that child. And that could come in a variety of ways. It could come through the culture that child has coming into. If it's a culture which looks down on women, for example, and all that, very soon you'll be like, oh yeah, you are here, but you are just a girl. And if you were a boy, you would have been better, and all of that. So that culture begins to impact on the development of that child. It could be, I think we saw
the morals and the
values of the family, of the person. Maybe if the mom's on drugs, or if the mom's a career woman and she just placed the babies, dumped the baby, not dumped, I mean, gotten somebody to take care of the baby, she's up to work and all that. And the child at that stage knows when the mom is there and when she's not, or when the dad is there and when the dad is not. So that child begins to grapple with life issues from such an early age. But you see, there's one key difference to when they become an adult. At that stage, for that child, it's a matter of life and death. Whatever that child feels is not working. Maybe the child cried for a while before their nappy is changed. Maybe the child wanted a hug, wanted to be bugged, but the parent didn't get it right. The parent was doing something else, and all of that. All of that for the child is a matter of life and death. And the brain stores in all that information as the things which happen to the child when they are young. So I throw you a challenge, and the challenge is this. I can say to you confidently that there is no perfect human being walking on the earth today. All of us have some form of imperfections in our lives, some form of needs, some form of wants, which we develop from childhood because we're raised by imperfect parents in an imperfect society. Of course, these are to varying degrees. But not only that, as that child then begins to grow, that child then begins to realize that they are good at some things and they're not at other things. There are areas where they thrive and they excel. There are areas where they don't. And then to confuse things further, there are areas where they thrive and yet the parents are knocking it down, like, you're a girl, you shouldn't be interested in football, for example. Or you're a guy.
Or you are a girl. Girls don't go into that.
Girls don't do that. That's only for boys. Or why are you crying? You are a boy. You should be a man. My my little boy, I love my two boys to bits. I love them to bits. My little boy, my youngest one will always say to me, Dad, boys don't cry. Men don't cry. I'll never cry. Men don't cry. In fact, he challenged me when my dad died. He said, did you cry when your dad died? And I said, oh, well, I didn't cry because I was expecting it. It was an old man. He was coming. We were prepared. He said, see, yes, men don't cry. And I was like, men do cry, son. When men do cry. But anyways, those are cultures that we pick up over time. And guess what? All of these things are ingrained in our minds. And then we start a journey looking for someone who will meet all those gaps, who will fill all those needs in our lives. And I think that is what takes us. So we've done early childhood. I don't know if I've missed out anything. No. If I've missed out anything there. Parental examples, how parents live their lives. They watch us. Those children, when they're young, they look at how we relate to each other. They look at our attitude to life, our attitude to work, and all of these things, the brain takes together. It doesn't look at whether they're right or wrong, but it creates a set of needs in the life of a child. And guess what? For the rest of our lives, we're looking at how we can get those needs met. And guess who we turn to help us meet those needs? You tell me we turn to God. I wish I could say, yes, of course, that's what we do. I don't think so. Well, we pray about it maybe, but we often turn to our spouses to meet those needs. And that's what leads us to romantic love, where love starts from.
So and thank you for that. And I think the analogy Vincent gave about the child it applies to every one of us, right? How we were raised by our parents, how we grew up, the culture, the values, and all of that in a way, either consciously or unconsciously, forms who we have developed into.
Exactly.
And in developing into that, we now need and of course, like you said, it's imperfect. So there may be gaps in how we are raised up or how we've been brought up or the things around us.
And there will be gaps because there's no perfect parent anywhere.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
And in that, sometimes when we seek people, we are attracted to people who can fill those gaps. So in a way, unconsciously, I know it's proven scientifically that opposites.
Yeah.
Opposite attract. So true. And I'm going to go into we're just going to take it further there. So I think is being able to set that foundation that, to get us thinking that why do we behave in the way we behave? Why do we seek things or love in the way we seek it? And why are we, why are we attracted to some people and not to others?
That's true. Yeah.
So, and then he says, so we now think of when we fall in love. Oh gosh, when we fall in love. It's always, when you fall in love, is a good time.
Awesome.
Bayo is on the call, he's celebrating his 30th anniversary. And he's taking his wife, somewhere nice and all of that. So
well done. I think they went to Jerusalem.
They went.
Awesome. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Awesome.
Okay, so I guess that takes us to the next. This is really, it may be a bit meaty because we are going deeper. It's not just the normal communication.
Beyond the surface, exactly.
Love, finances, and all of that. So I guess my next question, which I want us to interact on, is what happens when people fall in love? I know we have a young couple on the call tonight. We have a young couple, and of course we have people who are very young at heart on the call tonight. So could you please put on the chat? Could you please communicate with us? How did you feel when you fell in love the first time? What were those emotions? Please go on. How did you feel what happens when people fall in love? Please, people.
Please put it in the chat
Let's interact.
and all that.
What happens?
I think for me, I can just say, and I said to myself, what a wonderful. That was what happened. That summarizes it for us. Yeah. That was what happened.
I'm so
when we
I'm happy. It's still a wonderful world.
It is still a wonderful world. So let's go for it. What happens when people fall in love? Or from your experience, were there the butterfly feelings, or what was life like? What happened? Please put it in the chat, people. Put it in the chat.
Tosi, is that the LOL? Like we said to ourselves, "What a wonderful world," right?
I think so.
How do people feel when they first fall in love, even if you haven't? Because we know that sometimes things happen, marriages are arranged, and all of that. You know,
maybe what you've seen on TV.
On TV. What do you think happens
what you've read
when people fall in love? Oh, you feel on top of the world.
Top of the world.
You know, I've heard that phrase a lot of time. Where does top of the world? Where is the top of the world?
I'm not sure myself, but yes, somewhere it's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
So thank you for that. Yes, you feel on top of the world. Yes. Let's have more. What happens? What happens when we fall in love, or when you fell in love the first time? What was the feeling like, or what happened? Let's have it in the chat.
So the feeling of, I guess, sometimes, oh wow, yes, it's coming in now.
Exactly, like nothing else matters. Yes. Nothing else. It's like, you know, you could be with the person and just being with them, just being with them, you know. I remember when we started years ago. I am a reflector. I think about things a lot. And one day I just sat there and I thought very hard, long and hard, trying to find one imperfection in my relationship with my wife. And then we're just couples. I could not find one. And I said to myself at the time, I said, this is perfection. This is perfection. This is it. Perfection.
Okay.
And 20 years down the line,
it's still perfection.
Where?
Hello. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, KG. You said nervous excitement. Yes, you
cannot wait to see them again.
Has it happened to you that when you were dating, or when you were in courtship, if you go and visit one another, you can escort, you know, you say
walk,
bye.
You say bye, exactly. You walk, you know, that's we walk together. From when I go visit her, we walk to the bus stop and all that. And then I walk her back home, and then she walks me back to the bus stop again. And then we get to, at some point, we get to the middle. I was like, okay, let's stop here. I go this way,
and you go that way.
Yeah. So there's a feeling of euphoria.
Euphoria. Yeah.
Exactly.
Unspeakable joy. Yes. Yeah, that floods your heart. Thank you.
Start seeing your life with them and planning with them in mind.
Wow.
From the I, it goes to the we.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. No, my niece just wrote that from Germany. She just wrote that. You should have seen her on her wedding day. She was all smiles. I got this guy. I got him for life. Anyway. The guy was serious. The guy was like, oh yes, you know what? I mean, this is serious. My niece, she was happy. I said, I got him for life. Anyway,
let's move on.
Tell everyone about them.
Looking forward
to seeing them.
Yes. So, and thank you all for keep it coming. You know, one of the things that we looked at is when love starts afresh, when it's just starting. There's a scientific it's scientifically proven that two things usually happen. Yeah. One is physiological, and the other one is psychological. So the first one is about, there is more, when you love someone, when you have affection, that feeling of euphoria towards someone, you know, there is a scientific evidence that more dopamine and gosh, I can't pronounce that. That's a medical.
Norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine. Yeah. That they are body's transmitters, and more of that is produced in the body. So it gives a sense of rapid pulse. Remember that when you see your heart start pounding.
Or when they call you and you pick their call, you he's called me. Hello.
No.
Exactly.
You increase energy,
Yes.
sense of heightened perception.
Yes,
They can do no wrong.
They can do no
at
wrong.
that time.
Awesome.
The psychological one, which is the fact that when you just meet somebody or when you just fall in love, that even we see the attributes that probably we are looking for that we missed in our childhood.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that attribute draws us
to them.
To them. And that reignites like, okay, this person can fill this gap, this thing I didn't have, or this thing that was missing in my childhood. You know, especially when they complement areas where we are weak. We begin to see them as, wow, you know, this is the person. You have the one I am waiting for. You know,
you are the one. Let's not start tonight. And
you know, and we can never see any fault in what they do. And so in those two things, but that, you know, that scientifically proven that when we are at that stage, we overlook every wrong. Even when they make mistakes, we overlook it. We think, you know what? No, that's all right. That's fine. You know, because of because we are in that state of ecstasy, euphoria. It's like we are like the scientists say, you are drunk with those hormones.
That's true. That's true. Exactly. And I don't know about you. And again, looking at our relationship, you look at that person and they're like all of those things you are not.
Yes.
But in an admirable way. So for me, when we're in courtship, I was a church boy. I was a very.
So are you saying I wasn't a church girl?
No. You were a church girl. But one of things which really attracted me to my wife was her go get it attitude. She wants something, she goes for it. You understand? I've been a reflector. I'll think before I make my decision. But I'll just see her say, oh, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. Each time we met and we talked, she was always like, projects like, I'm doing that. This is my plan. That's my plan. And I'll just sit down and I'll just like, wow, what a wonderful world. You know, and all that was for me. And I'm sure she saw things probably from her own perspective, but it was the fact that we were opposites, and that attracted us to each other.
So I'll pass on over.
And you know, we're saying some wonderful things at that time. You know,
he used to use his pocket money to buy me apples, but he no longer buys those apples anymore. I buy them now. So
and
I don't know.
She eats them. She buys them and she eats them. So anyways, if you want apple,
I don't want apple.
Should I go buy apple?
No.
You don't want apple?
No, I don't want. No, I want more than apple.
She wants more than apple. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We've moved on from apple now. Now is things are so expensive, my dear. How much more are you going to add to the food money?
Actually,
that's what I get now.
Actually, people may not actually understand this apple business. So when we met, we were in Nigeria, and we used to have British apples. I don't know if any one of you know it. The green apples, they were very expensive. So anytime he was coming, he would buy me apples, he would buy me chocolate and all of that. And then he would walk home because he didn't have transport money, because he spent all of his money.
Such love.
I hope he will be.
Such love. That was what happened at the time. And you know, when you're in that state, you almost feel like you've known each other forever.
Yeah.
You feel like there is no time limit. I get home late, she gets home late, we meet after work, and then we could end up at 10 p.m. going our separate ways, but then we've got an arrangement to meet the next morning, and all of that. There was a sense of timelessness to our relationship at the time. There was also a sense of completeness, like you just feel you can share your heart with this person and they will understand you. You say something they complete the sentence, and it's just nice, you know, just like this person understands me. But you know what is truly happening in all of those? Okay, and the fourth one, there's a feeling like you can't do without them, that you can't live without them. I'm sure you've seen enough romantic movies. If you leave me, I'm gonna die. Ridiculous. Sorry. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? That's on TV. You feel this sense of necessity that you can't do without them. But you know what's truly happening is that your brain is taking you back to the sense of perfection you had in the womb and immediately after birth. And your brain is trying to recreate that. So what your brain is telling you is that this person has come to meet my needs. All of the things I was never good at, they have come to fill that gap. This person is my mom. In fact, you know, that's why people call, they say, babe. They say, oh, babe. Sorry, I'm so sorry. If you call yourself babes on this, if you're on this platform tonight, it's okay. It's okay. We're just telling you where that idea came from. Oh, baby, babe.
Baby means you meet all of their needs.
Exactly.
Remember,
it becomes a parent-child relationship. Again, baby, babe, and all that. You know, rock me. You know. You know, we did our research into this. Trust me, we did our research into this, and we could go. Let me give you another one. You know what you do with babies? So you carry a baby, you know, your cheeks are so soft, your skin is so smooth. Oh, look at your feet. Your feet is so beautiful. Do you know when people fall in love, do you know they repeat all of that? Oh, look at you.
At the very beginning.
At the very beginning, look at you.
You're so pretty.
You're so pretty. I worship the ground you stand on. I can kiss your feet and all that. All you're doing is reliving that experience when you were young and trying to fill in that gap when you're young. But as we know, romantic love does not last forever. So even though that's the way God designed it, isn't it? That's what Songs of Solomon is all about. Romantic love should last forever.
Designs it to be.
Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't. So what happens?
So at some point, I guess when we in the relationship, so we've talked about, you know, from the cradle, how all your needs were met as a child. And when you're growing up, and then how we fall in romantic love, we attract people or we fall in love with people who we think will fill that gap, who will think will complete us. And yes, the Bible says two shall come together and they shall become one. So we are meant to complete one another, to complement one another. But then where does it go all wrong? Where the power struggle begins to,
when the problems start.
Why did we leave the Garden of Eden, which is the state or place of romantic, and we move perfection and we move into imperfection? And you know what? We think sometimes, and it's
proven by research.
That usually once a couple says, that's it, let's get married.
Okay.
You know, commitment. Let's tie the knot.
When they get engaged.
When the commitment starts, and then people begin to think, okay, now I've given you all of the rosy parts. Now it's your time to what? To give back. It's your time to pay back. It says, once it says, let's get married, or let's not see anyone else for a while. And you know, and that time as the courtship begins to grow and you start planning. There's still that euphoria of planning for a wedding and all of that. I guess it's just the hierarchy now of expectations of, oh, I expect you to meet this need. You have not met this need. I expect you to look at this. You are not looking at it. So you're
meant to be my dad and my mom, and you're not fulfilling that role. You know, I always say, my wife married, and you know, again, this is part of what we're saying tonight, that you marry somebody who has the character traits of your caregiver, whoever took care of you, your dad, your mom, or your uncle, your aunt, whoever. And when we're thinking about this and we're praying, I was like, I was trying to think from my wife's perspective, from myself. Like I said, I'm a reflector. I think a lot about these things. And I was saying, my wife married her father's gentleness and her mom's, I don't want to use her mom's religiosity, or maybe her mom's prayerfulness. I'm trying to, huh? Her mom's sanity. Her mom's zeal for the Lord. Yes. Yes, and all that. So exactly. Thank you, son. Her dad's gentleness, because I was like, okay, what did she see in me? The unconscious parts now. The unconscious part. What did she see in me that made her marry me? And I was like,
and not assume.
The gentleness of her dad and the zeal of her mom combined together in a man. So like, yeah, I'll go for him. He'll probably be the one, and all of that. That's my I might be wrong on this thing.
See, one of the solutions that we are proposing is to create a safe space and ask me what I saw in you.
Correct.
So don't assume. But sorry, just moving on swiftly, and we begin to. So we're talking about just moving from that romantic, that euphoria, and we move to a state of reality, a state of commitment, a state where we expect more than we give. And I think that's what usually starts that, that ripple effect of, oh, it's not meeting my needs. Oh, she's not meeting my needs. Oh, she's not caring for me like she used to, and all of that. So when we start to think that, you know what, I've been good enough during this romantic period. Now it's my turn to what? To get. We're just thinking of ourselves. You're looking at it from your own perspective, that all I need now is, I need this person to really meet my needs.
So where does those expectations come from? Again, those expectations in terms of, this is what you should be doing for me. So, for example,
I'll give an example, and I think we had an argument about this. So I did say to you that when we got married, that my dad used to, anytime we all go to bed, anytime we're all in bed, we're all in bed, my dad will go around, look at all the doors and the windows, and he will make sure everything is locked.
He was a protector.
So, which I will expect of my husband. So here we are.
Expect. Note the word expect. Yeah.
Expect of a man in the house.
Okay.
So
without okay, go on. No, finish the story. Finish the story.
Got married. I was wondering, one day the door was not locked. I asked, why didn't you check and make sure everything is locked? You are the head of this home. And he said, no, where in his house, it was his mom that locked the door, and that shook me for a while. And I'm like, okay.
Because she told me, then you said, oh, our dad used to do that. I was like, you're not married to your dad. My mom used to do that. So we weren't raised up to do that. So exactly, those expectations come from what we saw from our parents, from our childhood. Again, going back to the childhood, that was where those expectations came from. And then we take them into marriage. And most times, let's be truthful, and this is where we're going. Most times we have not articulated them as things we want or things that matter to us. We just expect our spouses to do them. Yeah. And they don't know. And it doesn't get done. And please continue.
Yes, so we just expect our spouse to fulfill those roles. Yeah. So I've given an example. So Vincent, it was like, he said, oh, no, you two, we are both co-pilots in this marriage. You two, you can go around to check the doors. And I didn't, initially, that really, it was like, it was a, what's the word? I didn't find it funny that how can a man is meant to protect his home to do this, and and we just expect that. And also, like we always also that the primary expectation is that our partners are going to love and care for us the way our parents did.
Exactly.
Our partners are not, our spouses are not our parents.
They are not.
And we need to realize that.
We might call them baby. We might think they are parents, but they are not.
Yeah, they are not our parents, and we shouldn't expect them, because probably at the romantic stage, it looked like they will fulfill all of that role.
Exactly.
But then when reality, when we're in a marriage, we find out that this is not the expectation. And then tension, and then issues began to build up, and then we began to use different weapons to get them back on course, and all, or not necessarily to get back, to get at them. And this is what we are looking at today. It's not just the usual communication, it's what are the needs that you brought into the marriage? And you think this person must meet all of these needs. Marriage is not designed for your partner or your spouse to meet all your personal needs. And we need to get to that stage.
They're not therapists. They are not, your spouse is not a therapist who is meant to stare into a crystal ball and see all your needs and meet them. Guess what? They're not Jesus Christ. Let's just be clear. Our spouses are not Jesus Christ. They may be on the way to becoming like Christ, but they've got a long way to go. So we shouldn't put that burden on them to meet our emotional needs.
Not just emotional, but probably every I think in all areas of life, we should. And if we expect, and this is, we're going to come to solutions in a minute. If we are expecting that they meet some of the needs, I think it's better they are articulated than for us to assume that they know what our needs and they should meet them. So for example, I think there was a time that I was actually, I think it was a few years after we got married, and I'll be in the kitchen and I'll be cooking, and my husband will just have the newspaper, he will be reading, it's a Metro then.
At the time.
And I used to get so angry. So I'll just put the food on the table and I'll just, and at some point it was like, what's wrong with you? I said, well, you should think, I remember one of these ones. I said, but you're a manager in your office. You always look after your staff. Why don't you help me in the kitchen? Why don't you think when you come home, you should help me? And he said, but you have not asked. And I said, do I need to ask before you know
what you are meant to do?
And that causes a lot of tension.
What you are meant to do.
Really, it wasn't what it was meant to do. All you need to do is just to say, could you help with this? Or could you, this area I am struggling, could you please support me?
Exactly.
And it's just, so I've been talking for a while.
No. I guess, when we did this session last year, we said there were the 3 golden words for every marriage, 3 golden words which we must continue to use in every marriage. I can't remember those words. No, it's not I love you. It's not I love you. I love you is important. Yeah.
Can I help?
Can I help? Exactly.
Can I?
He said, can I? You will never go wrong asking your spouse, can I help? And all that. Those are the 3 golden words we should use in relationships. But yes, the assumption. But I think there was something you missed out. Maybe that was because of time. And that's the fact that when our partners, our spouses are not meeting our needs, then what we then do is we resort to negative behavior to force them to change. We resort to negative behavior to make them love us. Marriage is weird. In marriage, we do something negative, expecting something positive to happen.
No, but it's not just.
We keep malice, waiting that, okay, when they know I'm really, really angry, they will change. They will change and they will come. They will come and beg me and they will never do it again. It's mad.
No, but hold on, sir. Remember when we talked about the childhood? When a child is angry, they will go into a corner and sulk. And just stay in that corner and sulk. And then their parents will come to them to say, what's happening, my love?
Exactly.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes we expect our spouses to be like that.
Exactly like that. Exactly.
And when they do that, we now use that as a default way of reaching out to them.
That's true.
We sulk.
Yeah, exactly.
We keep malice.
Yeah.
We keep quiet.
Yeah.
But
you know, it actually goes deeper than that. A child yells, a child cries, and then the mom comes, feeds the child, changes the nappy and all that. Over time, the child discovers that the louder I scream, the quicker they come. And our brains take that into adulthood and we take it into our marriage. We don't do it at work. We don't yell, we don't scream, we don't yell at work. But when we get into marriage, what do? We want something, and then we scream, either physically or we're keeping quiet, either, I don't know, literally or otherwise, but we scream anyway through our behavior, trying to get our partners to do things for us. And guess what? That only leads to issues. That's what leads to separation. That's what leads to divorce and all those kind of things Okay, we're going to start looking at solutions now. Things we need to be doing differently. We're going to be looking at that. Please, if you've got any questions, put it in the chat, and we'll pick it up. But just to give us a quick example, for every relationship is different. And this is the uniqueness of us as human beings. What will matter to your relationship will not necessarily be the same to mine. Mm-hmm. In some relationships, they've gone as far as adultery being committed and it wasn't an issue. Yeah. In some others, it was just a fact that, oh, the guy didn't get a job. In some others, it's just a fact that, oh, he didn't take care of the child, or he didn't have enough time for me, or she didn't respond to my needs, or very, very, what you would call minute or tiny is a big issue for someone else. Why? Because those things which look tiny to other people were things which you probably went through at some point in your developmental stage and which had a huge impact on you. So when those things come up again in your relationship, you just can't handle it. Let's summarize where we're at so far. Let's go to the summary. Let's summarize where we're at so far, and then we can go to the questions. We can go to the solutions. Yes, let's take a summary of where we have gotten to so far.
So what we've discussed tonight, and thank you everyone for being patient with us. We hope you're being blessed, and we hope that this is blessed. This is addressing some of the questions you may have. But like we said, if you have any questions, just put it on the chat. So really, in summary, before we go to solutions, one of the things we've discussed tonight is that when we are children, we learn that the louder we scream, the quicker our parents come to our aid. Yeah. And and even as adults, some adults, they never change. And many of us carry this into our adulthood, thinking that when we go into marriage is meant to solve all your problems, right?
The way to get the solution is to scream at our spouses. Yeah. By screaming, it might be malice. By screaming, it might be scream. Some people still scream. By screaming, it might be violence. It might be abuse, neglect, withdrawal. Yeah. There was something that we couldn't get to today. How you avoid what you do at home to avoid your spouse. Spending time on the phone, watching TV, playing video games, being on telephone to other family members for so long, other friends, taking care of the children, registering for all kinds of activities, just doing everything not to be in the same space. Going to bed at 12:32 a.m. when you're sure he or she is asleep. Yeah. And you are out of the bed first thing in the morning before they wake up, just to get out of their space. And that often happens because we're just screaming at each other to get solutions, but that never works.
Yeah, thank you. And also sometimes, in summary, what we've discussed tonight, we are seeking healing when we are seeking love. Yeah. So because we are seeking healing, somebody who in a way can fit that,
Mm.
we are attracted to such people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And also we talked about the fact that we fall in love thinking our partner will always meet our needs forever.
Wow.
That they are there to meet all our needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They may do at the romantic stage,
Yeah.
but this reduces when we make a commitment to be together.
Once we make a
commitment, it begins to decline. And also that we feel that the louder we scream, or literally or silently, they will run to meet our needs.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to realize that we are no longer children, and our partners are not our parents.
Wow.
So they won't fit all the bill.
Right.
And we need to be able to relate to one another in that space. That, you know what is, we're going to come to solutions in a minute. What is expected? What do you want? What would you like me to make this marriage, this relationship better? You know, I have been selfish. All I've been thinking about is how you meet my needs and vice versa. But now I want to meet your needs. How do we do that? How do we get the love we want in our marriage?
And I think you started well from in terms of the first solution there, that marriage is, as much as our brains will want us to think that our marriage is a reenactment of the life we had during childhood. Now, this is your unconscious brain, so you don't even think about this when you do all of that. When you call you're my mother, you are my parent, you are everything I've ever wanted in life and all that. That's your unconscious brain saying to you, relive your childhood and all that, fill in the missing gaps, plug all your weaknesses. And that's not what our partners are wired up to do. Our spouses are wired up to do. So I guess the first solution then is the realization that we're two conscious adults in an equal partnership to try to help each other be the best in life.
Yeah.
Two adults, not one adult, one child. Some men never grow up. Some women never grow up.
Very true.
Some are just looking to marry their dad. They went out to find their dad to marry. Some are going to marry something which is everything but their dad. All of those are psychological issues which needs to be resolved. And unfortunately, your partner is not the one to resolve those issues. So we're two adults in equal partnership, trying to work together in a symbiotic way, not a parasitic way, in a symbiotic way to be the best we can be, So that's the first one. And also, please, you cannot teach your partner a lesson by being unpleasant, irritable, keeping malice, rude, withholding things from them. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You cannot teach your partner a lesson. I'll teach you a lesson. When I don't eat in this house for the next 3 days, we will know who is the boss. Ridiculous. If you mention it. So that's the first thing. We can't be unpleasant.
We can't be.
Keep malice and expect that to increase love in our relationship.
You are hoping to get a positive response, a positive feedback, but what you are giving out is a negativity.
You feed out. You see, there's a river that flows between couples, and we both drink from that same river. But guess what? We feed that river with what is required. If we fill it with love, we both drink love. If we fill it with positivity, we drink positivity. If we fill it with negativity, we drink negativity. So it's important. So one cannot be pushing negativity into the river and expect love to blossom and all that. So that's one. And I think in line with that also, we need to, we've talked about going deeper, and we're going to mention that in a minute, going deeper, really, really going under that. Okay, what were the issues when you were growing up? But before we get that, to make that happen, we need to apply zero negativity. Some people are just so negative when they're speaking to their spouses. Oh my days. Things you won't say at work, things you won't say to friends, things you won't say at church. I've seen cases where someone's complimenting. Now, let me give this example. Imagine someone complimenting my wife to me, and I putting my wife down. I don't know if that makes sense. Somebody said, "Oh wow, oh Pastor Vincent, wow, your wife is beautiful. Wow, awesome." And like, she'll be
beautiful until she opens her mouth.
Yeah, exactly. She'll be 55 next year. She's old and all of that. She's going through menopause.
I am not yet.
But that's what some people say. They just put down negativity. They criticize their spouse. Oh, you're not doing that right. Oh, that doesn't look good on you. And oh, this food, goodness, couldn't you do better? And oh, can't you get a better job? And you always complain. Oh, don't start with your complaint again. Negativity in a relationship. Negativity makes your partner unhappy and makes you more unhappy. Negativity does not only affect your partner, it affects you too, because what you sow is what you reap. So we need to remove criticism and blame from our relationship. Yeah, you want to take the next one?
So my husband is not the type that says, when somebody says I'm beautiful, he just says, I've been spending a lot of money on that. But I'm not really sure how much. Well, let's leave that. He said he spends money, but let's leave that. We'll come back to that. But one of the things we mentioned as well is you cannot, what you sow, like, the Bible says what you sow is what you reap. When you sow negativity, when you sow being irritable, being unpleasant, being, what you put in your marriage is what you get out of it.
Correct.
And we need to realize that, in this day and age where a lot of things are happening around the world, we need to ensure that what we sow into our home, into our marriage, into our family, they're positive things, because we will be beneficiary of it as well.
That's true.
So one of the other things we did talk about is, you may have not, maybe in that euphoria of romantic love and, you didn't talk about deep things. Probably,
maybe that was the only time you talked about it, but 20 years later, you have not talked about it.
Or maybe you didn't even talk about it at all, because the love was it. That's why I'm wearing red, right? Because it's still, love is in the air. Valentine was last week. We do Valentine, but our Valentine is every day, right? Love is in the air. But there, you need to create a safe space where you can actually ask your partner, or you can ask your spouse, what else can I do to make you happy? What can I do? What is it that is actually making you behave this way? And when you create that safe space,
why do you always get angry when I come late? When I come late from work, why do you always get angry? Why do you always get angry when I use the toothpaste and I don't put it back? Why does that matter to you? Why can't you stand having my shoes in the living room and all of that? And sometimes you just need to be curious and then create that space where you can actually then reflect and go back. You see, I wish we had enough time tonight. I would have shared with you how to actually have that conversation where you actually go back to your past and you review the things that has happened to you and how they've turned you into who you are now. Because the more we understand one another, the more our love deepens. So for me, I think my wife knows, if you want to wind me up very, very quickly, just shout on me. Just do that. Just shout on me. Don't do that. Why did you do that? It just gets, it just gets me. The antenna just shoots up like that. And again, I had to step back and I had to reflect and I had to think deeply that, okay, why is that really the case? And I remember that one of my primary caregivers, what she did again and again over a period of 10 years was to shout on me. That was all the conversation we had. It was either a shout or a slap or a smack or a beating and all of that over a period of 10 years. And so when I came out of that relationship, when I came out of that season, I just said to myself, no one ever, no one would have that opportunity. No one, I would never put myself in a position where anyone will scream at me, shout at me, or get me to do something. I said, go and do that one. If it's at work, I will leave the job. And all of that. So coming into marriage, and then once in a while, my wife gets frustrated, and then she just said, it just winds me up. Now for her, she just thinks, I've just done, what have I done? I've just said what anyone will say. But for me, it goes beyond her. It goes back into where I was coming from and what happened and what I vowed would never happen to me again. So you see, unless I share that with her, unless we go deep
into a safe space,
and this is not about giving advice. This is just allowing your spouse look back and, okay, reflect on your childhood. What were the things which you really enjoyed? What were the things which you did not? What were the things which you felt, oh, I wish this never happened? What were the needs your parents never fulfilled? Were they always responsive? Were they overly responsive? Were they
overindulging?
No. You know, when we started, neglectful, or what's the other one? Too involved. Were they too involved or were they neglectful? And what impact has that had on you? And when we address those issues and we understand where our partners are coming from, it makes it a lot easier to get the love we want from that marriage. Because for once again, your partner will feel, oh, this person really understands me. And a lot of times we don't have time for that conversation. The children, the work, the church, the bills, all of these things that we run after does not give us time and space to address those issues. Are there any other comments?
And I think, just mentioning that, and sometimes when we say create a space to have that discussion, sometimes all you need to do is just let's go away. Because as long as you have all of those other things around you, work, commitment, children, sometimes it's so difficult to focus on your spouse or to give them attention. So you can take some time away. Look at my brother that I mentioned earlier. He went with his wife and, I just saw some of his pictures. I was like, Pastor, you need to take me to Jerusalem,
Take me to Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv plus Jerusalem.
You are all witnesses. Yeah. But what we are saying is take time out to understand who you married.
Exactly.
Ask them questions.
That's so true.
Ask them, talk about their childhood. Talk about why does this trigger this?
Why do you behave
this way? Why do you behave this way?
Exactly.
And it's not being judgmental. It's a safe space. And you are there to listen to them, not to proffer solutions. You are there actually to say, okay, this is so to understand.
It's just for you to understand exactly
why they behave.
And not to use it against them in future. Say, now I know. Your childhood was so bad. That's why now you are very, very bad with money. No. That's not what we're saying. It is to be curious enough to understand what makes them tick, why they behave the way they behave, things that happened in the past, which has led to where they are at right now. Yeah.
We said never hold your partner or your spouse accountable for what you have not truly asked for in plain language. So you have not asked, you assume they should know. And that's where you stand until they know. They should know. No, they are not mind readers.
That's true.
We can't read. We are two adults who grew up in two different environments, two different families, culture, values, everything, and we come together.
Exactly.
And it's just the same way like we know God. We keep knowing God every day. The more we get closer, the more we know him. The more we look into the world of liberty, the more we know God. It's the same way. It's the way that Christ is to the body as is the head to the body. That's the way we are meant to be with our spouses.
That's so true.
Get to know them more. Ask questions. Don't assume. And if you feel there are things, the other party, you can tell them as well that you know what, this is why I don't like this. This is why I don't. This happened in the past. It's a two-way street, isn't it? Yes, this happened in the past and all of that. And or I really don't want to. This has happened, but I really don't want to talk about it. But this is why I react in this way. I think we will be more tolerable, and we can have that euphoria that we had again when it was the romantic time, when we were just in courtship. And one of the things I've seen actually with couples that have been married for probably over a long time is the fact that sometimes they take time to go away by themselves, probably celebrating a wedding anniversary or just something, and they go away just to, explore again. How can we make each other better? How can we make each other happy? Because it's a marathon. Marriage is a marathon. God did not design what is it called? Divorce. I know this day and age, there is a lot of divorce even among Christians. But when we look at the way it's meant to be permanent, and we should always strive to make it better.
Exactly. Just on that point, and as we begin to tidy this up, both of us couldn't have come from a more different background. My wife had, how many were you? Five,
yeah.
Dad, mom, five children together, raised together, very, very organic, even up till now. Really, really organic family, always in church, united together. Raised from the exact opposite of that family and all of that. I already knew, probably from the age of 4, that I was living in a separated home. My mom separated from my dad and all that. Age of 5, lived with my dad, came back to my mom, age of 7 and all that. So right from an early age, and then by 10, I wasn't with either of them. Not raised by either of them till I grew into adulthood. So our backgrounds couldn't have been more different. To then go into a union and each of us assuming that we know each other's needs is crazy. Madness. Can never happen. So we need to talk to each other and tell our spouses, look, just like we do at work. I sometimes say, if we run our homes the way we run our offices, life will be really, really good. Because one of the things we need to do is to get to a space where we can truly tell our spouses what we need as people. All I need is for you to give me a hug every morning and tell me that you love me.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just saying. That could be someone's thing. And you might need that, but you might never say it. And then you are feeling lonely because your spouse has never hugged you. For some, it might be all I need is when we're out there, just show the world I'm your queen. And these are things you might feel, I don't want to tell him so that he doesn't feel like I'm needy and all of that. For you, a guy, you might like, all I need is that every Tuesday, I get heaven, whatever that means, and all of that in the room, whatever that means. Until we need to get to a point where we can tell each other, these are my needs. And then when you now know what that need is, you go out of your way to meet that need, but not in a reciprocal way. We are not saying, I need this need, you also must meet that need. No. It is what the scientists call caring behavior. Your spouse articulates, you allow them articulate what they truly need, and you go out of your way to meet that need without expecting anything back in return.
And you do the same.
And
So
you also, it's a two-way street.
It's vice versa,
It's
but not
vice
reciprocal.
versa, but
But
not
reciprocal.
reciprocal. You know, if that is the only thing, and I know we've said so many things tonight, if that is the only thing you take away, that you actually create a space where your spouse is able to talk about their background and all of that, and you can get to a point where they can tell you what they truly need. How do you get the love you want in your marriage? By asking for it and getting your spouse to respond accordingly. And I think finally, we said, instead of criticisms, give affirmations. You could start with 1 a day. You could start with 2 a day, 3 a day. Say something positive to your spouse every day. I love you, baby.
It's not that I love you.
Okay.
How can I help? Can I help?
Can I help? Can I help? Say something positive, one thing every day, and get rid of negativity. I think we'll tidy it up there.
Any
tonight.
Questions? Any takeaway? I know, anything you think you're taking away tonight? Please,
Additions.
is there anything that you have gained from tonight? Thank you for all the contributions. Thank you. Say something positive to your spouse every day. Thank you. Anybody else? Is there anything?
Key
takeaways tonight. Key takeaways this evening. What are we going to go from here and do? Right?
Because we want this to be practical.
Remember when we study the Bible, it wants us to be hearers and doers of the word. So you have not, you have put some time, you have set out some time to be part of this. You should be able to take something away that actually, I'm going to start with this. This is where I'm going to start from. I'm not going to give negative energy. I'm not going to give in that water we both drink from. I'm not going to pour negativity in it and expect to drink something positive. I'm not going to assume that I know what my spouse needs.
You're telling them. They're going to tell us.
Sorry. Spend quality time.
To get to know each other more.
Thank you.
That's so true. Spend quality time. Spend quality time to get to know it. Create a safe space. Remove negativity, remove criticism. The space has to be quality, safe space.
And we should always remember,
more people, let's put in more.
We should always remember that our spouses are not our parents. They cannot meet every need.
They're not therapists.
Yes. And our relationship should be symbiotic, not parasitic. I always get from you. It's like, because that person will be drained after a while. You're always the one giving, and you are not giving back.
Any other ideas, people? Any other ideas? Any other ideas? It's only got 2. Okay. So whilst that is coming, please put it in the chat, your key takeaway from today. If you found this really useful, please put it in the chat. Marriage wants to take us back to our childhood, but we can't allow that because our spouses are not our parents. We're 2 adults in an equal partnership trying to make each other the best we can be. That is what marriage can be. Okay, discussing our needs, yes, and going out of our way to meet each other's needs without being reciprocal. So thank you. Love the practicality of the session, which you pack with the word. Oh, thank you, sir. Like I said, I'm taking my wife to Jerusalem too. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Okay, as we round up tonight, we hope this session has been a good one for you and you've learned things tonight. We will continue to run sessions like this. I don't know if we're being drawn more towards marriage and parenting. Parenting is another one where we're really passionate about, and I think our next event might be focused on parenting and all that, but we'll see as the Lord leads us. We're running this event on the platform of Transformation Sanctuary International, which is a church here in Raynham, England, east of London. just borderline of Essex and all that. That's where our church is. We meet every Sunday at 10 a.m. All our messages, events like this, you will find them on our YouTube page. They'll be on our Facebook page, but they'll also be on our YouTube page. So you can just go there and listen again and refresh, or send a link of the videos to other people. And we've got previous events there. We've got all our messages on Sunday there, all our Bible studies. There last week, Thursday, we studied the goodness of God. You might want to go listen to that. Like we said, we run events like this either every 2 months or every quarter. And we will be coming back your way very, very soon with another event. Thanks for joining us. Remember, God is the bedrock of every marriage. He instituted marriage, and more importantly, he wants it to be permanent. If we're going to have a successful and permanent relationship, we've got to look beyond the surface and try to address those needs which we never speak about, but which are always present in our relationships. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you've been able to take something away. And we'll see you at our next event. Thank you.
God bless you and have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.